Welcome to my podcast, Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm so excited you are here. You'll hear some incredible stories about how people are serving around the world, how they overcame a struggle, how they serve. These shows will give you an edge in business and your personal life. I believe serving over sales will help you grow in so many ways. And now, about our incredible sponsor, Info. Info is a web app that puts your business on people's cell phones when you meet people online or in person. They can engage with your business or send out referrals with a button click, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The power of business is connecting with more people. Remember, your network is your net worth. Info will do this for you. I would love to help spread the word about these shows, so please subscribe to this podcast and find us on all your podcast platforms. Please share with anyone you know who could benefit from our shows. Please enjoy the show. Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm so excited to have my guest today, Seth Silvers. Tell me your company name.
Thank you.
To the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. My company is called Story on Media. We're a premier podcasting agency based out of Colorado.
We were talking earlier, why a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits to podcasting. For me, my journey started with really being passionate about helping small businesses market with stories. And for the first 5 years in business, I was spread really, really thin because I was trying to help people in a million different ways related to marketing and storytelling. And that was necessary because I was kind of trying to find my own way and getting my own MBA in business without going to school for business. And so those years were really important. But through that journey, I started podcasting and I loved it. And I realized there's so many ways that we could help businesses market through stories and help them with storytelling. But the way that I think one of the best ways to market with authentically and to really tell stories is through podcasting. So for me, that's why I've came to the place of that.
I love it. I've heard the phrase a few years ago, ads tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the people that you trust the most are the ones that know the most about your story. Occasionally, there's people that know a lot about your story and they screw you over. And those people are hopefully not a part of our lives anymore.
Yeah.
But in general, when somebody hears your story and there's respect, you trust them. And every business knows people buy from who they trust. So I think the trust piece is a byproduct of storytelling. But we've only thought about it in personal sense. So like when businesses can start to tell more stories about the impact they're making and what they're doing, then people are going to trust them more, which means it's going to help your business.
Love this guy. I've been talking stories for a while. And that's why I love having him on, because if you have a story for your business or for your life, I mean, stories can be personal. I got married and I use a story to propose my wife.
Yep.
But let's get back to business. So what do you do with your company? You know, I want to start a podcast. Let's walk through that journey.
Yeah. So we kind of really help. We specifically work with like business leaders who they know their audience. They know how to serve them and they've done it. So it's pretty important to us for kind of where we're at as a company that you have some kind of a track record, because I see a podcast as like adding the fuel to something that's already working. It's going to help take your business to the next level. But a lot of times the first few years of a business, you're trying to figure out your product, you're trying to figure out your audience, you're trying to figure out how to focus. And that's part of the journey. I think that it's hard to justify like hiring an agency for a podcast in that season. I learned on my own. And I think it's possible, but it just takes time. So for us, like we're working more with businesses that are saying, hey, we don't have the time to like go through and learn this all. So can you help us? But we're really going to focus on making sure there's a strategy behind your podcast. We're going to make production super easy. And then making sure that there's like an advertising plan to actually grow it. So those kind of three things. Most of our clients, we're helping them with all of those things, but some clients, they don't need help with certain aspects of that.
So you're telling me I work with Seth Silvers to increase my income in my company?
Possibly.
Yeah.
So
You're
yes.
going to help with that.
Yes, absolutely. And I hesitate with that, even though that should be like a home run. Yes, because a lot of people, when they start a podcast, they think this is going to solve all my business problems. This is going to bring me in another $1 million. This is going to bring me in more clients. And I think that is true. If you're smart with it, you can monetize it. You can get sponsors. You can do a lot of different things. Yeah. But I think a podcast, it nurtures an audience. So I think the biggest value of a podcast for a business is not necessarily looking at it as a customer acquisition tool, but looking at it as a customer nurturing tool. Like it's going to help educate your audience because they're not all ready to buy. So what are they going to be doing while they're thinking about buying for the next year? If they're listening to your podcast every week, that year is probably going to become 6 months. So we try to help people shift their perspective to where the only goal of your podcast is not to get customers right then and right there, but you're really looking at it as like it's developing your community, educating your community, and it's more of a long-term play.
Well, you want to work with him because I asked him a question. I knew where he was going. He went exactly right. We never know.
Yeah.
But this is a serving podcast. And by educating, you're actually serving your clients, right?
If your business is doing something worthwhile.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like as we promote authenticity and as consumers want to hear stories and want to know the impact behind a company, if your company doesn't have good motives and you're just trying to make, as much money as possible, as quickly as possible off the backs of your consumers, you're going to be exposed because your audience is going to come and say, hey, we've been hearing businesses telling stories. Will you tell us your story? And it's like, well, we don't have much to stand on. So yeah, I think it does. It's a really, really helpful tool because if you're doing good work, then it's going to help. It's going to help shine light on that. If you're doing bad work, probably also going to shine light on that.
That's so well said. I always say, work with a company. We'll tell you both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
Not the company that says, like you said earlier, it's going to make you $1 million. Seth's not saying that. He's going to work with you. We're going to nurture this thing, educate you. And there's a potential of good things happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a story. Tell me a good success story of one of your clients.
Good question. So yeah, I think one favorite one that we're like working with right now, his name's Patrick Lencioni, pretty well known in the management and consulting space. I remember when I got to school, one of the first classes I took was organizational leadership, and they said, buy 5 dysfunctions of a team. And I'd never read it. And then now, 15 years later, getting to work with the author, which is pretty cool. So, for them, he's successful in his industry. He's not just starting out. He has a name in his industry, but most of the people that know his name are over the age of 40. And so there's a whole generation of managers and people that are coming into management positions that aren't necessarily aware of the work that he's done. And so for them, we're being more strategic about the platforms they're marketing on and how they're presenting their content so that it's, so that it's getting in front of a younger generation. And so I think that's been really fun to see their demographics begin to spread, see the platforms, and like on the data side to begin to see the ages of people that are listening to their podcasts begin to expand so that we know it's getting in front of new eyeballs, not just the eyeballs that have been following him for a long, long time.
That's a great story. And that's just a perfect example of how stories can tell your business
and
what you could do. And I like the fact that you said earlier that you don't work with everybody. It's got to be a business that's successful. And that's great because I'm sure you can find a resource for somebody else that's not in your, right?
Yeah. And we always tell people that like, I will help you. It might not be me, but like, I will be honest and like, we will point you in the right direction. Even if that's not us, like we'll commit to getting you the right resources for podcasters, and for starting your podcast. It might be us. And if it is, then we're going to be super happy to help you. But if it's not, then we have our connections. We'll make sure that you get the help you need.
You can see why I had him on the show. You definitely are a servant's heart. His serving and his business sometimes doesn't go there. We're such a greedy world where people want to just take advantage. And you don't need to do that. And you're successful when you're doing it with a servant's heart. With that being said, I'd love to know a book or two that you've read the audience might want to read to help them grow in their lives.
Yeah. So I'm going to say one that's kind of a foundation for my life. And then I'm going to say one that is not necessarily my favorite, but it's probably been the most transformative for my business. The first one is the Bible. That's always been very, very important to me. And so, the lessons and principles that I've seen from growing up and continuing to be a Christian, that's always something that I'm going back to. And I think even if you're not a Christian or you don't believe the Bible is the word of God, there's still a lot of truth in there. And so I encourage listeners that even if that's not the faith you subscribe to, it is the best-selling book of all time. And it has been around for a long, long time. And a lot of the reason behind that is there's a lot of really valuable principles in there. The second book this book has made more of a mark on my business, and it's changed everything about my business. And that's a book called Profit First. Have you heard of it?
I have. Great book.
Yeah. So it's a great book. For listeners, kind of the quick version of it is it simplifies how you run finances in your book. And it shifts from thinking about profit as taking something that's left over. Like, hopefully I have some profit left over at the end of the day, to shifting to where you're thinking about profit first. You're deciding how much you're going to profit. And so what it does is it changes your perspective to where you're taking care of yourself as an entrepreneur, or making sure that you're getting paid. And then it's putting parameters around how much you're spending in expenses, and in taxes, so that you actually have indicators, so that if you run out of money, you don't have enough money in the bank for the expenses, that's a red flag. And instead of taking money away from yourself to go and put that into expenses, you're paying attention to that red flag and saying, okay, this either means one of two things. We're over expensing, like we're spending too much money, or we're not charging enough. So I feel like before I read that book, I really had a hard time wrapping my mind around how much do I charge? How do we run finances? How much do I save for taxes? And so this book and I'm not like, I like money. I like thinking about money, but I'm not an accountant. So I'm not like, some of that stuff is over my head. That book gave a really practical framework that any entrepreneur can follow for reframing how your business is done. And so that was huge. That got me, I was in quite a bit of business debt from mismanagement of funds, got out of business debt in a year, got out of personal debt. It totally reshaped how I ran money, which now gives me the ability to serve my clients better and be actually more knowledgeable. So that book has changed everything for my business.
And I love, my pastor calls the Bible the business book.
Yeah.
I mean, you said number one business book. It is interesting. Profit and Bible are two books you talked about. And a lot of people think that we're not supposed to make a fortune in the Bible. It says make a fortune, but what do you do with that?
Right. Well, and there's this story in the Bible. It's called the parable of talents. And forgive me if I don't present it exactly how it's supposed to be, but there's different people, and they're given coins or talents from not their owner, but from their boss. And, one person is given 10 talents, one person is given 5, one person is given 1. And the person with 10 is like, wow, I have 10 talents. I don't want to lose these. So they hold on to them. And I think one of the people goes and spends it, and the other one initially takes it and uses it to earn more. And so then the owner, the boss, comes back and he scolds the person who was given the most talents because he buried it, because he don't want to lose it. And then he honors and rewards the people who use those talents to grow. So I think we have a responsibility. And as a Christian, I think one of the mandates is to be a steward. And that's not just a steward of money. It's a steward of our ideas. It's a steward of our talents. And so I think we should absolutely be looking at what talents have I been given, and how can I grow these talents to serve more people? So for me, there's still a lot of places I want to go with my business. That doesn't necessarily mean I need to be the biggest and best business, but we should always be striving to increase the way that we can serve and the way that we can benefit others around us.
I love it when you say serve. My heart grows because that it's such a winner in business. We have a few minutes here. You mentioned struggle.
Yeah.
And I love that you did, because every guest I have that's had a struggle is successful. Let's go over a few minutes of that, because there's probably people in the audience that are struggling now or have struggled. Where did you get past your struggle?
Yeah, I think there's so many different seasons, and I think every season kind of has different struggles. I think one of the ones that I've been really working through and kind of related to business has been being afraid to focus. I would always hear people say you got to niche down and you can't serve everybody, and be like, yeah, that's good for you. I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to do everything. And so I think for my first few years of business, I had a major scarcity mindset where I felt like I had to take every opportunity that came, because it's like, well, this is money in the door. This is money, and I can pay my team and I can pay myself and do all this stuff. But then after 5 years, I found myself, I was nowhere near where I wanted to be, wasn't really in a scalable position. And every single project I was working on was different. So there's different processes and different procedures, which ultimately meant the client suffered. They weren't getting the best of me or of our team. And so I think it was actually it wasn't associated with COVID, but right before COVID. And I had this big client. It was pretty much a job, not a client. And, it was helping pay the bills. And I was thinking, okay, I can do the job for them and then I can still build my own company. And I got fired they fired me like 3 months in. And it wasn't because I didn't know how to do the job. It was because I wasn't doing a good job at it. I've heard some people say, don't half-ass two things, full-ass one thing. Yeah. And so for me, I was trying to do too many things that I was doing an inadequate job at everything. And so I remember talking with my wife, and we had just signed a contract to build a house. And then I lost this like $80,000 contract. And it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so for me, it was like, okay, I've been afraid to focus. And so we kind of said, we have 6 months while our house is being built before we actually have to have the money that we said we'd have to build it. And so that was very much a point for me where we kind of decided, okay, for 6 months, I'm just going to focus on podcasting. That's what's bringing me the most life. That's what we're helping our clients with the most. That's what our clients have been paying us for the longest time. So we got rid of all the other projects we're doing and just said, we're just going to focus on podcasting. And it wasn't like 0 to 100 right away, but that gave me that focus helped change everything. And that was where I realized it's okay that I can't help everybody. I'm not supposed to be able to help everybody. And so I think that was one of the struggles where for years I had such a hard time focusing. I still do. I still get shiny object syndrome, but that was a really, really helpful season for me to realize the power of saying, there's a lot of things I could be doing right now. We're going to do this and we're going to do it really, really well. And I trust that there's other people that can help other people with their problems.
Your struggle, COVID was past, but your struggle led you to a pivot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of businesses don't do they fail, right?
Yeah.
You may have failed if you can pivot, right?
Yeah. I probably failed like 3 times in that first 5 years. I was just too stubborn to like close shop, start a new shop. And so it was like, there's all these failures underneath the roof of Story On. And then, 5-6 years in, then it was like, okay, we're going to focus on podcasting. Yeah.
But you flourished. Yeah. You got back up. Whatever phrases that you want to use, you did that. Power to you. I'm excited to hear that because we're all worried about struggle. It's just going to happen in business. Mm-hmm. It's how you handle it.
Yeah.
You handle it so well. And I've just met Seth, but I love having him as a guest to hear these stories because what you do for your business stories is what you just did. So you just did your business.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I loved having him as a guest. I want to thank you for coming on because I agree with you. Podcasting, name that stat. We were walking down to do this show. What was that stat you just told me?
Yeah. So again, forgive me if somebody listening is more knowledgeable about this stat, but I heard recently that there are 50 million active YouTube channels. So that means they've published something new in the last 30 days. The number of podcasts, and kind of before I'll tell you the number, people are saying, oh, podcasting is saturated. There's too many podcasts. Like it's too late. You missed the boat. Number of active podcasts that have published in the last month is going to be between 400,000 and 500,000. So 1%. Podcasting, YouTube and podcasting, they're different mediums. I get that. I understand it's not necessarily apples to apples, but there is so much room for podcasting to grow. And I think that we see huge podcasters like Jordan Harbinger and John Lee Dumas and Joe Rogan and, NPR's podcasts and Gimlet's and Wondery, all of these people that, they're in studios, they're producing amazing podcasts. And we think like, okay, to start a podcast, you got to get to millions and millions of views. I think, especially in the business space, you could have 100 people listening to your podcast. And if they're the right 100 people, that makes a huge difference. That's great for your business. That's great for those people. And if I called you next week and said, hey, I have 100 of your dream clients. They're coming to my house tonight and they want to hear you speak. I don't care where you are. You'd hop on a plane and you'd come and you'd speak to them. And it's the same with podcasts, but we think it's like, oh no, it's got to be thousands and thousands and thousands. And I think you can get there, but the podcasting space, it's still so young. There's so much room for growth in the next couple of years.
I'm glad I mentioned that because as you can see, Seth knows what he's talking about. This is the company you want to lead to. And I suggest reach out to him. His information is going to be in the show notes. He'll do a discovery call. He'll talk to you, see if you're a fit. Maybe you're not a fit for a podcast, but give it a shot. The numbers he just gave you, the opportunity is there. Again, I want to thank you. This has been awesome. You're an awesome guy. I love the Bible references. I appreciate you. Let's give our audience, a business tip or personal tip that's really helped you. I know you've thrown a lot on the show. What would you leave them with?
Honestly, I mean, kind of in light of what we said, I would recommend that you read the book Profit First. It's very, very simple. It's a very quick and easy read. And that's been like the one thing where I need to like call Mike Michalowicz, like, dude, I need books. Cause I tell every single business person that I run into that they need to read it. For me, that's just been so transformative that I think new or young business owners, it's so important to know your money. I would say it's pretty much impossible to build a healthy business without knowing your numbers. So I think that's going to be the tip I'd leave the audience with is go get Profit First, read the book, apply something you learn from there to get a better grasp of your numbers. Cause knowing your numbers, it's going to give you a better opportunity to serve your audience and serve those around you.
Good job. You're such a neutral guy, Seth. Now I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
You got so much to say. I've been so impressed.
Thanks, man. I appreciate 31.
I'm meeting so many powerful young guys. Like, I mean, what you know now in 30, I would be sitting there, Cyrus is plan, but no, I appreciate you because older people need to listen to smart people that are young.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of the big influences on me have been sitting by older people that I've seen be successful in business and do it well. So, it's been a huge piece of me wanting to go into business was because I saw people that were 20, 30 years older than me, that were Christians, that were doing everything they could to be as successful as possible in business. So they could give as much away as they could. Like, that's the way it's supposed to
be. No, definitely. I'm going to really use your podcast. I'm glad you were first because people are like, tell me more about podcast. And I've got people interested in this whole network.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to do podcasts for a while. And I was blessed by Kyle and Josh. And now, of course, you're going to be part of it. You're part of it. There's so many great people out there, like Noah Lawrence I mentioned, that should be doing podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we do. Yeah. We're happy to help and glad that. Anyway.